Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is Flying High right now. And what is flying high? Hope is flying high, and that could be your hope. And that is because the planets are being so supportive of anyone that wants to make a new start right now. So I urge you to do that. Besides, spring is here. So if the flowers are all coming up and making new blooms, we can try new things too. And this is an optimum time to do that, because this is a time when the sign of new beginnings, Aries, is very well aspected. And that is because there are 3 planets in Aries. There is the Sun and Venus, and they are conjuncting each other. And Mercury has just joined in Aries as well. And Mercury is the planet of the mind and communications. Those 3 planets are being very well supported. And that is because there are another 3 planets that also contain a light, and that is because, remember, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury are in Aries, but the Moon today and Jupiter and Saturn are in Aquarius, and these planets sextile each other. That's 6 planets already that are really helping each other out, and a sextile always represents opportunities, but it gets better than that, and that is because Mars is the ruler of Aries, which rules new starts. And Mars is in Gemini right now. And since Mars is an energetic planet, that's why this is the time to start something new. And that's why your hopes can be flying high. Because Mars in Gemini is sextiling the sign it rules, Aries, where those 3 planets are. But it's also trining the planets in Aquarius. So Mars, which is a malefic planet, is trining Saturn, another malefic planet, and Jupiter, and the glorious Moon today in Aquarius. And it's also sextiling the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Aries. That is 7 planets that are all either trining or sextiling each other, which is certainly the majority of the planets in the heavens. So this is an absolutely excellent time for you to think about getting ahead. And the good part of that is that you're going to have help and a lot of encouragement, perhaps from people that are older or people who are maybe wiser and more experienced, sort of like the experts in one way or another. And that's because that Saturn is in Aquarius along with Jupiter and the Moon, and they are sextiling the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Aries, and of course trining Mars in Gemini. So I think that this is a time when you can get something off the ground. You can go and talk to people. You can get information if you need to gather some. You would be good at that right now, and you'd also have other people helping you with that if you want. So this is a good time to plan and promote your ideas. And, you know, it doesn't mean that they have reached a stage where they could be commercially successful, but they can certainly begin to take shape. And a lot more people can be supporting you or being interested in what you want to start now. So even if you're starting something as easy as a summer trip, go right ahead and do that. And your plans could turn out beautifully. So this is a time that is also very good for children and for love affairs and for sports and for the entertainment field, because the 3 planets in Aries trine the sign of Leo. And it's also very good for travel and higher education and the courts, because they also trine the sign of Sagittarius. However, you know, as glorious as all of this sounds, it's still important for you to keep your feet on the ground. And the reason why is because there are 4 planets in the fixed signs creating pressure because they're squaring each other. And there are another 4 planets in the cardinal signs, and they are also squaring each other. And that's where you could run into a little bit of trouble. So I don't mean to discourage your enthusiasm. I think you're going to be successful. And if you reach a little plateau where you sort of don't know what to do next, go ask somebody else for help, because you'll get that help right now. And that could be the secret of your success, is that you are able to talk to the right people. But you also have to keep your feet on the ground, because Uranus in Taurus is actually squaring that wonderful moon and Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, which rules the future. The moon and Jupiter are actually conjuncting each other. They're very tightly conjuncting each other today, which is wonderful. It doubles their strength. And so, because Uranus is squaring these 3 planets in Aquarius, and Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. It's in a harsh aspect to that sign, but it is ruling it. It simply means that some of your success, maybe not right now in the formation stage of something new, but down the road when you've got to pay the bills, there could be something amiss, or it could look a little iffy. And not, you may not be too sure of the financing or something like that, but that is down the road. But that's still that's a good reason to keep your feet on the ground. And then there are 4 planets also in the cardinal signs, and that's because Pluto in Capricorn is squaring the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Aries. And so you've got people who are in power positions that are not necessarily willing to be helpful right now. Now, why is that? Well, these squares in the fixed signs simply mean that there can be people around who are in large organizations or groups who should be tending to an immediate financial problem that may benefit you, particularly if they resolve it. Okay, that could benefit you. But they're not working very fast on that. They're slowing down. They're inventing excuses. They're stalling. That's what that square in fixed signs means right now, because it does involve a financial sign, Taurus. So you have to watch out for that and be determined to just, no matter what somebody says, go back and ask them again, and then another time and another time, until you get somebody that can give you some good answers. And then there are those people that could be heads of large corporations or government agencies, people who are in power or in charge, and they're not being too cooperative with you either right now. In other words, you want to get a new start off the ground, and they feel as if their authority is being challenged, and so they're going to exert it, and they're going to challenge you back. Why would they do that? Instead of being helpful, why do they want to make power plays? It is possible that the reason that they want to slow you down is because if you succeed, which it looks to me like you could right now, if you succeed, you would be robbing them of their power over you. So they think they have a lot to lose. In other words, if somebody's been trying to control you right now, and you have a great idea for a new start and going out on your own limb and doing things your way, they could be really afraid of your success, simply because it would rob them of the power to control you. So the way these wonderful 7 planets that are all trining or sextiling each other are going, it simply means that the future is calling you. And so why don't you just go to it? Give it a try, because the stars are really with you, and you'll get help in one way or another. And so 2 heads are better than 1. You may as well give something a try. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, for you, boy, I think it's all systems go, Aries. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to run into somebody that pretty stubbornly wants to keep you under control. But I would say that there's a really good possibility you could go around them, Aries, And perhaps you could seek a new outlet for yourself. You really are well aspected to make a successful new start right now. And the reason why is, you've got the Sun and Venus and Mercury all in your sign, and they are being sextiled by Mars in Gemini, which is your own ruler, on one side of your sun sign, and they're being sextiled by the wonderful Moon and Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius on the other side of your sun sign. I don't see how you can lose right now, Aries. So, you don't have to have everything your own way. You really can go ahead and start something new, but you could be twice as successful if you were doing it with a partner or with somebody else who is there to help you out in one way or another. So exhibiting a little bit of humility and being very thankful or grateful for anyone who's coming along to help you would be very, very nice. And remember, I think you are going to make it, Aries. If you're planning to travel, that's going to work out just fine. If you are planning to go to an entertainment or a sporting event, that's going to be working out fine. If you feel like doing something new with children, that's going to be successful. Or if you've got a love affair on your mind, that could be pretty nice too. So I encourage you to answer the call to the future, Aries, and go ahead and start something new. Your timing is perfect. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. Yours is a fixed sign, and so there's 3 planets squaring Uranus in your sign right now, and they are the Moon and Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius. So your future is looking a little foggy, and it isn't because you don't know what you're doing, Taurus. You do. It is simply that you are not sure of the financial landscape. In other words, you might be really sure about your money and what you want to do with your money, but you are not sure of what other people are doing with theirs. And, it's an interdependent world. And so, you should try to be a little bit hesitant about making some very futuristic moves right now. I wouldn't take a gamble on anything right now, particularly not with somebody's or your own future. I just wouldn't do that right now, Taurus. So this may be a better time not to sign on the dotted line, but instead put it off a little longer. And the reason why is because you don't really know, or I don't think you can be completely sure about the future prospects of other people around you. And if you can't count on them, then why would you want to gamble with your own money? I wouldn't do that. Just sit tight and see what else comes about. You can afford to wait. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, oh boy, you've got Mars in your sign. You are super energized right now, Gemini. And luckily, there are so many planets either trining or sextiling your sun. A lot of them. And in fact, it's the lights. The Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Aries are sextiling your sun, and your sign rules Aries. That certainly means that you could be a person that could help someone else make a new start, or conversation with you could initiate a new start of anybody's, including your own as well. But it means that you're in a position to really get the ball rolling right now, Gemini. And so why don't you? You have nothing to lose, because the other light, the Moon and Saturn and Jupiter, that planet of goodness, are all in Aquarius, trining your sun. I don't see how you can lose unless you're being critical of somebody. Mars is not a loving planet, but it sure is an energizer. And so if you could not criticize anybody, but really try to get out there and get something done, not just conversation, but actually get a schedule set up or begin to take steps in a concrete plan that will lead to a new start in your future, Gemini. You will not be sorry. This is an excellent time to really work on that. So I hope you give that a go. Okay, what does it mean to Cancer? Well, Cancer, this is a time when I think that you can be blessed by what's going on around you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make a new start. It might be that you want to make a new start, but it could be delayed because someone else wants to do that instead, and you may be deferring to their wishes. And that's because the Sun and Venus and Mercury in Aries are all squaring your sun sign, and Pluto in Capricorn is opposing your sun sign. But on the other hand, Cancer, your ruler, the moon, is being beautifully aspected today. It's got a lot of help around it and a lot of support. So I don't see anything wrong with you sort of being the power behind the throne right now. Not actually getting out there and exerting your own power, but instead being of assistance to others, particularly on a new project that involves the future. And it wouldn't even have to be forever. It could be just temporary, but it could be sort of exciting, only I think you'd be happier if you were in a supporting role instead of in a starring role. So you might consider that right now, Cancer, being involved in something, but you may not have to take total responsibility for it, but you certainly would be a much beloved helping hand, and people would really appreciate that, so go to it. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Leo, this is a time when you certainly are going to make a new start. Guaranteed, Leo. And the reason why is that the Sun and Venus and Mercury in Aries are all trining your Sun. And on top of that, Mars is in Gemini, sextiling your Sun. And Mars is a pretty energetic planet, so I think it's energizing you, Leo, which is great because you may not be completely sure, particularly of your long-term future. And so I would not dwell on that if I were you, Leo. In other words, try not to ask yourself what you're going to do 30 years from now. Don't worry about that. Time will take care of that. Instead, with Saturn and Jupiter and the moon today in Aquarius opposing your sun sign and Uranus and Taurus squaring your sun sign, I think you need to stay a little closer to home. Think a little bit more about stabilizing your finances, Leo. In other words, maybe cutting out a few things in your budget, simplifying your life a little bit. That would be a good idea. Not because you're broke or anything, but because there can be unstable financial influences around you or unexpectedly high bills. And so instead of that, just try to cut down on your budget in one way or another so that you don't have to worry about that. And then, Leo, the problem is that Saturn is a malefic planet and it is opposing your sun sign, and it is the planet of time and of authority. And it can be that there are people in authority that may not want to see you succeed at a new start, which I think you can make. You could make a new start. All the planets in Aries are trining your sun. But the planets in Aquarius are opposing your sun sign. And that simply means that there could be some people around in higher positions that do not want to see you succeed. And the reason why is that if you succeed, they will lose their power over you. And they won't be able to control you anymore. And they like that. And so, you don't need to please those people, Leo, but I wouldn't antagonize them either. So you need to be a little bit respectful, and I would say this is a good time to keep your distance, okay? If there is somebody that is out to try to impede your progress, try to go around them, or else just backtrack a little bit yourself and don't have any contact with them. That maybe could really help you out more than you realize, Leo. You could give that a try. Because I think if you make a new start, at least be as quiet as you can about it, and that way the victory can be yours, all yours, when it happens. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when you can be anticipating the the underlying changes that other people are thinking about making right now, so you can be a little bit suspicious of some sort of, not exactly an upset, but something that involves other people being restless, okay? If they are restless and they want to make changes, how will that affect you, Virgo? Well, actually, it won't affect you very much if you don't let it. And the reason why is because there are some other things that you need to watch out for. One of them is that Mars in Gemini, which is extremely well aspected right now and well fortified, is opposing or is squaring your sun sign. And Neptune in Pisces is opposing your sun sign. There is somebody in your life, Virgo, somewhere, and they are engaged in what you might call funny business. And you're going to find out in little dribs or drabs what's going on behind the scenes, but you may not find out in time to do anything about it. And so this is a time when, if I were you, Virgo, I would keep a little bit more to yourself and be a little bit quiet about what your plans are and keep working hard. In other words, Virgo, this is a good time to keep your head down. Just keep it down. That way you're not a threat to anybody, but also nobody can see what you're doing either. And so it's a defense mechanism. The reason why I'm encouraging you to do that is because Mars is so well aspected that if it's in a harsh aspect to your sun sign, you should respect that. And instead of angry people coming at you, try to sort of keep such a low profile that they don't even find you. That would be a good idea. And just sort of lay low this week if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Libra, this is a time when I don't think you can go wrong, Libra. Isn't that a nice thing to hear? So I hope you go ahead and make a new start. It could be just a little beyond your reach, Libra. And the reason why is that the Sun, Venus, your own ruler, and Mercury are in Aries, and they all oppose your sun sign, and Pluto in Capricorn is squaring your sun sign. You are one of the people that can be bothered by the higher ups slowing down or wanting to cut budgets or cutting back on something in order to prevent you from making a successful new start. And that is because they don't want to lose their power over you. And so, Libra, you have to choose the direction that you're going in very carefully. Okay, and be aware that there are people that have their own hidden agendas that do not favor your success. But on the other hand, there's a lot of planets that could lead to your success right now. So I think in a funny kind of a way, Libra, you're going to have to change friends a little bit or make new acquaintances. And the reason why is they could be very helpful to you. Mars in Gemini is trining your sun, and Saturn, Jupiter, and the moon in Aquarius are also trining your sun. This really is a good time for you to make a new start, but I think that you have to make a preliminary step first, and that is simply to gather people together who are sort of new and exciting, and sort of see what you've got first, or see who you've got before you decide to tell people what your new start is going to be. So I think you need to move in different circles, Libra, and you may not want to do that, but it may not be wise for you to stick around people that have been so entrenched and know you so well that they could block your every move if they wanted to. Why would you stick with those people? This is a year when you can really move forward, particularly now when there's so many good planets in the air signs. So go ahead and go out on a limb yourself, Libra. Don't worry, you'll find new friends and they will be very helpful. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time when I think that you can anticipate that there is change, particularly financial change, going on around you, and that you are more or less dependent on what somebody else does with their money. In other words, it could be an employer, and you may not know if they're going to cut budgets or trim staff, so you might have to wait on that to find out about that. It could be that you are unsure about the value of some of your investments, and that could be to changing world conditions that are beyond your control. There's nothing you can do about it, but you can't count on it either. And so that is because Uranus in Taurus is opposing your sun sign, and the 3 planets in the future sign of Aquarius, the moon, Jupiter, and Saturn, are all squaring your sun. Excuse me. So Scorpio, you need to be as quiet as you can right now, because things are happening in other people's lives that you have no control over. You may not even know these people, but what they do could sort of filter down into your area of activity or your area of interest. And if I were you, Scorpio, I would spend this week very quietly planning a few defenses of your own. And by that I mean, if there was trouble around you, what would you do to defend yourself and your loved ones and your money and your home? Think about it, Scorpio. Just think a little bit more defensively. You really don't need to go out and make a new start at the moment. You need to find out much more about what's been hidden behind the scenes, and you need to concentrate much more on justice being done, because that will bring out the best in you. But for right now, I would build up my defenses, or keep your guard up right now. That way, you won't be as dependent on what other people do. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, this is a time when I certainly think you're going to make a new start. Oh boy, why couldn't you? Why wouldn't you? The Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Aries are all trining your sun beautifully. And so that simply means that somebody else wants to make a new start. And I think you're in agreement with that, Sagittarius. It may be that someone issues you an invitation. And it could be a social invitation, but it might have something to do with work or with your career or with a project that they are initiating, but they may ask you to join them on that. You should say yes, Sagittarius, because it limits your liability. In other words, if you're involved in someone else's new start, that can be very exciting. They can be very successful right now. And if you're sort of going along for the ride, you'll get some of the credit too, without having to share the whole burden of responsibility by yourself. And that's why it's a pretty good idea to think of joining others, even if you're only in a supporting role, because whoever's got a great idea about a new start right now, I would say that they are definitely, all they need to do is gather the right people together, and I think they'll be successful. And you could be one of those right people, Sagittarius. So I would keep my ears open for good opportunities and ones that you're interested in, because that is how you could sort of join a winning team right now. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time when, as I said, the reason why we have to keep our feet on the ground is because there are 4 planets squaring each other in the fixed signs, and there's another 4 planets in the cardinal signs squaring each other, and yours is a cardinal sign. So you have Pluto in Capricorn, but it is squaring the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Aries, and those 3 planets are being beautifully aspected right now. Right ahead of your sign, though, are 3 planets that are very useful to you, and that is the Moon, Jupiter, and Saturn in Aquarius, which is sextiling your Sun. And that's good because it means that Saturn is a planet that rules people who have been around a while or who are successful or who are sort of older and wiser. And Jupiter is in that sign as well, and the moon is there. You could meet a very knowledgeable, very intelligent woman who could sort of come out of nowhere and influence you in a way that can inspire you and sort of lead you on, Capricorn, to do a new start of your own that may even be the outgrowth of something that you had begun before. In other words, you may have had a great idea in the past, but maybe it just didn't grow. Maybe the time was wrong, but now it can. But that can be due to new people that you meet, some of whom might be a little bit older and more experienced. So I would say that your future could be in the hands of other people who really know what they're doing. And you know you have a talent to contribute as well, Capricorn. And also, I think that you are interested in people who are very secure, particularly financially secure and emotionally secure. Uranus and Taurus is trining your sun. And so I think if you take a sort of a good long look at people before you make a decision about something, particularly about joining something new, I think it'll be the right decision and that you'll be glad that you joined them. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius. This is a time when, oh boy, your sign is just loaded with possibilities, Aquarius, and they're great. One of them involves the possibility of a move because the moon is in your sign and the moon rules real estate. And it is exactly conjuncting Jupiter today, that planet of goodness. And Saturn is in that sign as well. So you may have the opportunity, with the help of perhaps some younger people, that's Mars in Gemini trining your sun, to make a new start of your own. And that is because there's 3 planets in your sign, but they're all being sextiled by 3 more planets in Aries, the Sun, New Moon, and Venus, or Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Aries. So through the help of others, you could initiate something new right now that maybe you had been wanting to do for a rather long time, Aquarius. And I think that that could work out pretty well. And so I hope your enthusiasm is pretty high right now and that you go ahead and trust that a future move is the right one to make. Because I think it is, and there's no time like the present. And remember, Jupiter is only in a person's sign once every 12 years. So there could be something much better waiting for you in a new location. Why don't you give it a try? Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Pisces. This is a time when you may want to be very, very careful and not quite believe everybody and everything that they're saying. And the reason why is Mars in Gemini is squaring Neptune in your own sign. And Mars is a planet that rules, in Gemini, is ruling young people or gossip, particularly since Mars is a malicious planet. It's a malefic planet, it can be ruling malicious gossip. And I wouldn't believe that right now, Pisces. Try not to believe anything that somebody is saying to you without proof. And they would, I think, sound more convincing if they didn't have the proof. But once you start asking questions, you may find that somebody's story is absolutely full of holes and that you shouldn't trust them and you shouldn't believe them. And so this is a time to go real cautiously in your relationships, particularly with younger people, because somebody could want to certainly do things their own way, but it may not be for the betterment of you or for your happiness, Pisces. It would be for their own happiness, which is sort of selfish. So if I were you, I'd be real careful making new friends. In fact, go slow right now if you can, and don't be around anything that's moving too fast. You might become a victim of even something like an accident if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show and read our blog on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.